And happy Monday. I hope everyone had a great weekend. So, instead of practice problems or having some other kind of math assignment today, we are starting a brand new unit. And it's really hard to give you practice problems on an asynchronous day when we're starting a brand new unit and you haven't done the math before. So today you're going to watch this video and you're going to take notes. So we're starting our data analysis unit. It's called Analyze This, and we'll be working with graphs and working with different kinds of data to make sense out of it and do math with it. Our focus today is going to be taking notes on the measures of center. So the way I'm going to do this video is I'm hoping to be able to play it and let you or have you play it and listen to it while you're taking your own notes in Kami using the Kami app. If you need to pause this video, go to your notes, write your notes down, and then go back and start the video again. I'm going to go through all this hopefully in about 15 minutes or so, and then you can stop the video when you need to take your own notes. You can rewind, fast forward, whatever you need to do in order to get your own complete set of notes for this. As always, I'll end up posting these notes in a notebook that'll be on virtual tools or notebooks under that topic in the Google Classroom, so you have access to it to go back to it as needed. So today our focus is going to be on the measures of center. And I'm going to go ahead and label these. These are going to be the teacher's notes. So once I get them done, I will get them posted. And today's date is 3/22. Notice I'm using my text box. I'm using all these tools over here. If you like to write using your finger, you can always write on your screen. You can use the drawing tool for that. I'm sure you guys have used Kami probably in several other classes. So the measure of center is a way of, well, this is the next, what's going to go in the first blank space, summarizing a set of data by providing the centermost point. It's a central point of data. So we want to find out where the center is, where the middle is. And working with different types of measures of center will help us do that when we have a set of data. And what is data? It's usually just a bunch of different numbers that are placed together based on someone's answer to some questions. Maybe it was a survey or something. Or maybe all the grades in the class and we're trying to figure out what the mean or the average was for all the grades on the last test in the class period. That would be a bunch of different test grades, test scores, and then we're averaging them together. The mean, which is what I was talking about, average, is a measure of the center, which is the average. So mean equals average. I'm sure you have heard that used before. Mean and average are the same. And in order to find the mean, there's 2 steps. So that's nice and easy when there's only 2 steps. Step 1 is finding the sum of all the data points. And hopefully you guys remember that sum means to add. So I'm going to add that word over here on the right-hand side. And then step 2, once you've added up all the data points, step 2 then is to divide by the number of data points. So we need to know how many data points we have in order to do the division once we've added them together. So step 1, we're going to add Let's see, just going to put a plus, and then for step 2, I'm going to put the division key, the division sign. Remember, a division problem also can look like a fraction, so that way you know. All right. The mean can be thought of as determining the fair share. Have you ever had to share something with a sibling, or your parent maybe wants to give, you have to share the last brownie in the pan with a friend or your parent or a sibling, and you want it to be exactly in half, or you want to make sure you get your fair share? That's what that is. So let's take a look at a practice problem right below here. Good example. It says move the gumballs around to create an equal number of gumballs in each machine. What is the fair share? So as always, I'm going to highlight the question. Now, the trick here is to figure out how many gumballs do I have in all 3 machines right now. So I'm going to just have to count them. And I'm going to just use my drawing tool and just put a little dot as I count each one. So in gumball machine A, I'm going to count them. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Looks like 11 gumballs. So right below there, I'm going to write 11. Gumball A, or machine A. For gumball machine B, don't have nearly as many, but I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in gumball machine B, looks like I have 5. So I went back to my text box so I could type that in. Now I'm going to go back to my drawing tool. And for gumball machine C, I'm going to count those. Looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, text box, type in an 8. Now the thing is I need to sort these gumballs around so that I have the same number of gumballs in each machine. So I need to add them up. That's my first step, step 1. So I'm going to add 11 plus 5 plus 8. And when I add those numbers together, if you want to pause this here just for a minute, go grab a calculator and add those up. You're going to get 24. And then for step 2 is to divide. I have 3 gumball machines. So I need to do 24. Up here at the top is this little f of x. If you click on that button, that allows you to have the math. And if you click on that little pi symbol, that'll allow you to find the symbol. So 24 divided by 3 equals 8. So the mean, or fair share, is 8. And that is my answer that I was looking for right there. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that so you can see it. Remember, these are going to be the teacher's notes. So I'm doing the highlighting to draw your eye or your attention to these notes as I go through them. So look, over here on the right, I did step 1 by adding them up. Step 2 then was dividing by 3 because I needed to know the same number of gumballs in each machine. All right, so let's do some practice problems. So it tells us that this is the shoe size for 8 students. 8 students, so that tells us the total number right there. Since it's already typed in letters, I'm going to just type in a text box and put an 8, in numerical 8 there. So I already have that. In Mr. Perdito's class, tells us to find the sum, so that means we're going to add. Plus sign beside that. And then the mean, that's step 2. So remember, for step 2, we're going to divide. And since we know we have 8 students, we're going to be dividing by 8. So I'll just put that right there. That way if you struggle with having to remember what to do. So I want to add all of these up. So I'm just going to say 13 plus 12 plus 9.5 plus 10.5 plus 12 plus 11 plus 12 plus 8. Might have to, I'm using a font size of 24. You can use a smaller font. I just want to make sure you could see this on your small Chromebook screens. And again, this is where you would stop the recording, grab a calculator, and add these numbers up. And when you do that, your answer should be 88. So right here next to sum, I'm going to type 88. And then I'm going to go ahead and create another text box so I know I'm dividing 88 by 8. And when I do that, my mean then, my answer is 11. My fair share is 11. So the shoe size on average is an 11. That means some students in the class, their shoe size is going to be a little bit smaller. Other students in the class, their shoe size may be larger, but on average, it's about an 11. So the next thing, we're going to do another one. The following data set represents the age of people in line to vote. So again, the sum is we're going to be adding. And then the mean, we're going to be dividing. And we're going to be dividing by, got to count the number of people this time. Didn't give it to us. When I count that up, I get 10. So that's how many people are in line to vote. So I know I'm going to divide by 10 to get my mean. So again, this is where you would pause the recording, go grab a calculator, and add those numbers together. Okay. When I do, I add it all up, get 490. All right, I hope that's what you get. If you got a different answer than I did, you might want to do your math again. 490 divided by 10 means the mean age of people in line to vote is 49. The following data set represents the number of times the phone rings when callers contact Comcast Cable customer service. Now, the interesting thing is this table looks a little bit different, whereas before your numbers were just listed all out. But this tells you the number of rings, and then it tells you how many times they occurred. So what's important is the frequency. You've got to add those numbers up, and that's going to tell you how many total numbers you have. So when we list this out, which is what we're going to do right now, that means we have two 4s. So 4, comma, 4, and then it looks like we have 1 5, and then we have 2 6s. We don't have any 7s, so we don't list that. We have 2 8s, and then we have 1 9. So when I add up my number, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 1 more is 8. So that tells me that I have to divide by 8 to find my mean. And we already hopefully know by now that I'm just adding them up to find my sum. Step 1 and step 2. So again, pause, take the calculator, and add the numbers together. When you do, your sum is 50. When you take 50 and divide by 8, 6.25 is going to be your mean. All right, at this point, pause, go back, make sure you have all of these notes typed in or written in. Go back over this, make sure you know how to do it, practice it. It's easier to practice when you've got the answers or someone showing you how to do it, but you've really got to actually use the calculator or actually do the math in order to understand it. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the median. And the median is a measure of center in which we're focused on finding the exact middle. Okay, we want to know what the middle of the data is. We're going to lay all of our numbers out. We're going to do this. There's again 2 steps here. The first step is we're going to put the data in order from least to greatest, or smallest to largest. The lowest valued number to the highest valued number. And then we have to determine the number that's exactly in the middle, where there are the same amount of numbers on to the left of that number and the same amount of numbers on the right-hand side of that number. Sometimes, though, when we're working our way to the middle, there may not be one single number in the middle. There might be 2. So if there is not a middle number, that's going to be the exception. If there's not a middle number, then you're going to find the mean, our average of those two numbers. And we just learned how to do that just above, where you add those two numbers together and then you would divide by 2. So it tells us to put the numbers in order. Let's practice this. Put the numbers in order, because that's step 1. And for number 4, this is the number of inches of snowfall within a 2-week period. So the first thing I'm going to do is put them in order. And I want to make sure I don't forget anything. So I'm going to go ahead and count how many numbers I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 numbers. So when I've listed them all out in order from least to greatest, I should have 14 numbers. Remember, I'm going to start, there's no negatives. So I'm going to start with 0. And it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So I'm going to list 5 zeros. I have that. And then my next smallest number looks like it's 1. And I suggest, I'm going to go ahead and do this right now. You take time to just cross those numbers out once you've listed them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've used all those. Looks like I have 2 1s and a 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and cross those out. Then I'm going to go back to my text box and put those in. Okay. And then my next number looks like I have 2 2s. Looks like I have a 3, just one of them, a 3.5, a 6, and an 8. Go back to my drawing tool, cross those out. You can stop and do that one at a time if you want. All right. I'm just going to double check and make sure I have 14 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I do. So now I need to know what's going to be exactly in the middle. 14 is an even number. So when I work my way to the middle, I'm going to have 2 middle numbers. So if I go from either side, I'm going to use my drawing tool here and work my way to the middle just by crossing one on the left out and one on the right until I get to that middle number. So I'm working my way to the middle, almost there. Okay, so it looks like my 2 middle numbers are 1 and 1.5. So remember, I have to find the mean of those. So I'm going to add 1 plus 1.5 together. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. And then when I do that math, my answer that I come up with is 1.25. So the exact middle of that set of data is 1.25. So I'm going to pause this here. I want you to do these 2 number 5 and number 6. I want you to try that. I'm not going to go over that on the recording. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and continue this. I'm trying to get these done right before the bell rings. And then we'll finish this up. So I want you to do number 5. I'm not going to do it with you. I'm not going to walk you through how to do it. And then number 6 is another one of those with a frequency table. So I want you to try that one. So number 7, we're going to jump to. We'll work through some of this together. Actually, number 7 is one I want you to do. A and B, because you're finding the mean and the median and you have the information. So I'm not going to go over that with you. Now this last piece right here, this third page, I'm not going to, actually, you know what? Instead of doing the Google, the quizzes, I'm going to go ahead and assign this. This is to determine the mean, so I want you to do number 1. Let's see. I want you to do number 5. Number 6. And then number 4. All right, so I've assigned 3 more problems that I want you guys to do on your own. If you finish that, there'll be a quizzes you can do, but I definitely want you to do this, and I will post the answer key later on so you can check your work. All right, guys, good luck. I hope you have a good rest of your day.